want to go controversial,
Yeah.
we can.
Okay.
I will have to be careful about how I answer questions, but yeah.
But these are questions I want to know. So, can you answer the masturbation question?
If you want to ask it.
Yes, I'm asking it now.
Oh, wait, are we rolling?
Yes.
This is how it is? There's no like, hi, welcome everyone.
We'll do that later on.
Okay, well, we're not sharing any of that before. Oh my gosh.
I'm Sara Jane Ho, and this is Mind Your Manners, where no topic is off limits as we uncover the secrets to feeling at ease in every situation. A lot of people are confused about Kabbalah. Is it a religion, a philosophy, a spiritual practice? Today's guest, David Ghiyam, is here to demystify it and offer practical tools that can turn your life around instantly. David Ghiyam grew up Persian in LA, played poker as a kid, made his first million before 16, and co-founded Mary Ruth Organics, a vitamin company, and then he gave it all up to study something older, deeper, and quieter, Kabbalah. Today, he's become the go-to Kabbalah teacher on social media and garnered millions of fans who turn to him for simple, powerful spiritual tools they can actually use. In this episode, David shares the mindset shifts and ancient wisdom that helped him transform chaos into clarity. From blessing your exes, to attracting abundance, to embracing discomfort. This is a conversation about living with intention, humility, and purpose. You'll hear a couple ways David's teachings have brought real change into my own life in just the past few months, so I'm especially excited for this sit-down. Kabbalah isn't a religion, it's a toolkit. Let's open it up. David, welcome to the pod.
Thank you for having me.
I want to start off by saying how much Kabbalah has changed my life.
When did you start learning?
So 2 months ago, I began doing shamanic healing. And my healer told me to start looking up Joe Dispenza's videos. So I did. And then pretty shortly thereafter, Instagram pushed me your videos. And your content resonated with me so much because it's so practical and bite-sized. And then next thing you know, I'm going to a seminar and taking Kabbalah 1 online, Kabbalah 2 now, and now you're sitting here in front of me.
I see. Oh, I'm very happy about that. Yeah, my Instagram is a bite-sized understanding that doesn't go too deep on the wisdom of Kabbalah, but it's just practical enough. And then obviously rolls over into deeper and deeper content. So I appreciate that you were able to take those courses.
Well, thank you for sharing them. So I want to talk about your journey into Kabbalah.
Okay.
What parts of your identity were shaped by your upbringing or culture that may no longer serve you? Because you grew up Persian in LA.
Persian in LA.
Kabbalah is technically Jewish?
Well, this is kind of what a lot of people think, and then I have to kind of demystify what that really means. The wisdom of Kabbalah is ancient, universal, spiritual technology. It kind of explains why the soul came to this world, what are the spiritual rules and laws of the soul, so that we can understand them and then create miracles in our lives. So really it applies to every soul in this world, regardless of religion. Over time, there were great souls who brought this wisdom into the world, such as Abraham. We also know fathered the 3 major religions that we have. And
Which three?
Well, we would say Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. He's the father of the 3 major religions. Oh. And so he was 4,000 years ago, but what Abraham and other great souls like Muhammad or Moses or Jesus brought to the world was never a religion. In fact, if you go to any one of them and you ask Moses, are you Jewish? He wouldn't know what that means. If you asked Jesus, are you Christian? He wouldn't know what that means. That happened hundreds of years after his passing. And so one of the things I'm always trying to explain through the wisdom of Kabbalah, and its ancient power, is that these souls that came to this world brought a spiritual technology for all souls of mankind. Eventually, religions were created and formed, and a lot of the spirituality was lost. And in its place, a lot of traditions came about, which are beautiful in their own way. And religion has done a lot of good and has obviously been at the forefront of a lot of chaos. But what Kabbalah does so beautifully is it takes everything back to its spiritual root. So people who are Muslim who follow me are Christian or Jewish or don't believe in God at all. they say once they learn Kabbalah, everything makes sense in that path that they had chosen. So no one has to leave their religion or their cultural upbringing, their spirituality. Kabbalah is just there to enhance it and help people understand its like root form.
Yeah.
And so everything just becomes so
Fascinating.
practical when you learn Kabbalah. You learn about the energy of everything in this world, the why of everything in this world. People want to know, like, why were they born to the parents they were born into? Why are they attracting certain relationships? Why do they have those kids? Why do they keep going through some type of rejection in their career? Or why is it abundance doesn't come to them? These whys are all explained in Kabbalah. So once a person learns Kabbalah, they learn why everything is happening and what they need to do about it.
Yeah. And so you grew up Persian, but your uncle studied Kabbalah. Like
Yeah,
your
so
whole-
I grew up Persian. I always had a desire for something bigger than what I was doing as a kid. And so I found a way to make money when I was young, and poker was part of it. Stock market was another part of it. I just learned, and it happened. It took off for me. And then my uncle's like, well, you have such a big desire for life, and you crave so much. Like, come learn this. I think you'll love it. So I came. I didn't know what it was. I sat in a seminar. It blew my mind away. And every question I asked was answered by the teacher. And so I said, I want to keep learning. And I kept learning, and I kept seeing miracles. I kept learning, kept seeing miracles at a young age. I finished school quickly. I graduated from UCLA when I was really young, at 19. And so then I devoted my life to the nonprofit world to teach this wisdom. So I've given about 3,000 seminars and 30,000 hours of private coaching, and I did it all for charity. And our Mary Ruth business, Mary Ruth Organics, which we started 12 years ago.
with
was
your
something that was-
ex-wife.
Yes, with Mary Ruth, my former wife. We started it 12 years ago, and that was not really even my passion. I never thought I would do something like that, but the wisdom of Kabbalah also helped me become the person I needed to be to create a business like that with Mary Ruth. And so now when I'm traveling the world, I'm sharing with people the spiritual principles of how we created a billion-dollar brand, and how anyone can manifest their own potential in that way. Not to say that everyone's meant to create a brand or meant to create something as small or as big as that, but every soul is meant to create something. And so how do you create that with this spiritual technology?
Yeah. It's so I grew up in Hong Kong, and my father's Taoist. We don't really have religions in China. It's more like spiritual thought. So there's like Buddhism, Daoism, etc. And what I love about Daoism is it's very elegant, it's deeply Chinese, and it's about letting go. So the principle is called Wu Wei, which is like effortless action. But when I discovered Kabbalah and your content, I realized like it's so much deeper.
Yeah.
And instead of, maybe it's as I grow, I don't want to just find peace, I want to find meaning, which is what you mentioned before as well. And I like how Kabbalah asks the why are we here? You know, what are we serving?
Yeah.
And it explains so much. And what really turned around, like, I mean, what was so enlightening for me was the fact that Kabbalah says, you can have it all, you deserve to have it all, it's your birthright.
Yeah.
As opposed to Buddhism or Daoism, which is like, you let go, you should not have desires, you should be humble, right? And for people who want to achieve things in life, like high achievers, to me, it's like, I don't want to be guilty about it.
Yeah.
But to know that, like, this is my birthright.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's interesting you said that, because what you just shared about Taoism is a truth, and it is one part of a bigger pie of this wisdom. So interestingly enough, on the way over here in my Uber, I had about 30 minutes, so I made a post. And literally, I mean, this post is exactly what you just said. I shared a concept around letting go. But the Kabbalists actually say something very powerful. They say your spiritual purpose is actually to expand your desire to want everything. Our problem in life is that we keep shrinking our desire and settling for less. We settle for instant gratification, which is a sign that you're shrinking your desire. For example, would you want a one-night stand, or do you want a long-term relationship? The reason why people settle for a toxic relationship or a relationship that doesn't serve them, or just moments of gratification, is because for whatever reason they're being tempted to get some momentary pleasure, but this is indication of a small vessel, a small desire. My teachers always told me, expand your desire. And he said, like, what's the biggest desire you can have? How powerful do you want to be? Even being the president of a country or a prime minister, he said, you're thinking small. Even wanting to be a billionaire, you're thinking small. He's like, why don't you be the president of the universe? Meaning, why don't you connect your soul so strongly to the light of the Creator, which is in control of everything? And with this connection, you remove all darkness. You are actually now more powerful than any human in this world when you are connected to that force. And so the post I made was, the sages teach first to expand your desire, meaning think big. Don't think about even just the $1 million, the $100 million, the billion, the power, the having the whole world respect you. It's still thinking small. The biggest desire is how I can desire to align my soul with the Creator by becoming like the Creator. And then the way you manifest anything is you have this big desire, and then you have to surrender it. Then you have to let go at the moment that the desire is controlling you. And the moment you let go, then you go back to having the big desire. And it's this constant dance. So for example, in business, this is how we built Married with Organics. It's kind of like we build a product. We have this huge desire to want to bring this to the world. So we're expanding it. We're doing all these things. We're marketing it. And then when we bring it out to the world, you have to let go. You have to let go of that neediness that comes in at that moment. You have to let go of the fear that comes in at that moment. You have to let go of the, what if it's not accepted? What if this? What if that? So life is about the expansion of the desire and then the surrendering of how it happens, when it happens, and the control all around that. And that's how you manifest the miracle. So for example, some people leave a relationship that hurt them really badly. So what we often want to do is protect ourselves by not dating anymore. And in some cases, right, I met a woman, and she said that she started dating women. I said, have you always dated women? Meaning there are certain souls that are born that they will only desire to be with a woman versus the traditional male-female relationship. And the reason is because that woman on a soul level has somewhat of a male energy on the soul level. And so she's attracted to another woman as opposed to a man. Yeah. Because plus and minuses are attracted to each other. So how are two women attracted to each other, two men? It's because on a soul level, there's a little bit there's a feminine soul for that man in the male body. And for the woman, there's a little bit of a male soul. It's a little more complicated than I'm making it, but I'm trying to make it simple. Yeah. There's a male energy in the female body making her attracted to a woman. So I said, is this something that you had since birth? Because if it is, that's how the Creator made you, and nothing to be ashamed about that. There's no problem with that. And she said, no, I'm just done with men, so I feel like a woman is safer. So what's interesting there is the choice to be with a woman wasn't because she was actually attracted to a woman on a soul level. The choice was she shrank her vessel to just whatever was safe. And in that case, the safety was to be with a woman, in her case. Now, of course, because of her soul correction, and we learn in Kabbalah, your soul comes to this world with things you need to transform. And so let's say one of the things she needed to transform was her fear of abandonment. So she attracts people who will awaken that until she changes it. And it's not that this man was abusive or narcissistic or emotionally unavailable. It's just that her soul chose to bring that man into her life to help her awaken the negativity that she can transform. So she will experience the same thing even with women because you can't run away from your spiritual work. But that was an interesting example of the shrinking of a desire versus the expansion of a desire. And there's another example. A lot of people in their career, and I'm just saying these examples because I imagine your audience is going through it in some way. There are people who stay in careers that they do not like, that don't satisfy them. When in their heart, in their mind, they see a vision of something that would satisfy them. But that letting go is really letting go of your old, small vessel that's feeling safe. To expand your desire, to realize the Creator wants to give you endless, not for you to just suffer through this career. The Creator is trying to give you endless love, endless sustenance, endless wisdom, endless certainty. It's us, we have the free will to create the vessel to hold that. That's our free will in this world. And we have free will so that we have the choice. And when we have choice, we feel like we're earning. And when we earn, we don't have shame. If I give someone something for free, they'll never appreciate it. They'll never enjoy it. If a child is born to a wealthy family,
I want to go into some of those terms later on. So it sounds like Kabbalah is teaching us how to step up and grow into our divine potential, right? Desire is not bad. If it's refined and if it's aligned with the light, it's actually sacred.
absolutely. So that's a nice way of putting it. In fact, how do we reveal the greatness of the Creator and the Creator's energy is by expanding the capacity to receive it. And then becoming like the Creator is the way you actually let it in. So,
and back in the day, people would say, like, what would Jesus do? Now, after taking your Kabbalah 1 course, I think, what would the light do? Like, how
Beautiful.
would the light act? Because that's what you
How would the light of the
you
Creator
tell
act?
us. Yeah, how would the light of the Creator act? And that informs my decisions.
Yeah, and a lot of people should know Kabbalah is basically understanding what are the attributes of this endless force called the Creator. Some people call it God, some people call it the universe, but it's just endless positive force. What are all the qualities, and how do I emulate those qualities so that I'm attaching my soul to that energy?
Yeah. And what also resonated with me was in Kabbalah, before you said, if the desire is in your mind, it's destined for you. You just need the certainty that you deserve it.
So what comes first, the fulfillment or the desire? That's always the question. Well, what came first, the Creator or the souls of humanity? We know that the Creator came first. The Creator is the cause. The souls of humanity, which is the vessel, is the effect. So when you have a desire for something, it means that the fulfillment of that desire already exists, causing you to desire it. You'll never want something that you are not meant at some point to receive. There's no such thing as a desire that just is an orphan that came out of nowhere. The desire was put in you by the fulfillment of that desire. So for example, if you crave to be with your soulmate, it's because that person, man or woman, is somewhere in the world sending you a signal, want me, reveal me, I'm here. Maybe your soulmate's in Hong Kong and you live in LA. Well, how do I find him or her? Your soulmate in Hong Kong is sending you a signal saying, want me, reveal me. And the way you do that is I'm going to energetically send other relationships to you that will awaken you to the negativity that you are holding on to that's not making space for me. So often we have to realize actually it's our soul communicating with the soul of our soulmate in collusion to cleanse both of our vessels so we can come together.
Yeah, that is so beautiful. And it's so true. When I think about like the men that I had to date and to go through and the things I had to awaken in myself, my own soul corrections to coons, which we'll come to later on, that only I had to go through those experiences to be ready to meet my husband.
Right, to get married.
Yeah, to get married and be the person that I was meant to be, to find him.
Right, right. And people should also know, because we talked about this prior, person can be married. And I get this question all the time, like when Meredith and I got divorced, I said, what went wrong? I said, why do people think of it that way? Spiritually speaking, in fact, the sages say that often a person meets their soulmate after the first marriage in a lifetime.
Well, I'm my husband's second marriage.
Well, there you go.
But my husband's my first marriage.
And by the way, that doesn't mean that if a person's in a first marriage that there's anything wrong with that. In fact, every soul you're with is a soulmate in many ways. And so oftentimes a marriage in that love in that form has been achieved, and there's been the success has happened and another form takes place. But the love evolves into something different. Like Mary Ruth and I have a even closer and better relationship now we do as co-parents and business partners.
4 children, right? And Mary Ruth. I mean,
and the business. So
the business.
We're even closer now than we were then. The problem becomes when people get divorced. It's like you loved someone for 5, 10, 20, 30 years, and then all of a sudden you hate them. How can that be? How can you have loved someone and then you absolutely want to destroy their life after you're divorced? It's not that you want to destroy their life. It's that there's negativity that's dormant within the soul level that never had a chance to come up. And the whole point of this divorce actually was to allow the soul to experience this negativity and then have a choice of how they want to react. Are you going to react with anger, bitterness, resentment, jealousy, and then cause evil speech, tell the children how bad their father is, or to tell society and then take them to court and waste all this money? All of that is a test. Like, actually, it's interesting that I'm speaking about it. I've never spoken about this ever, I don't think. But if a person's actually about to go through a divorce or they're going through it, the anger you feel, the betrayal you feel, the hurt you feel, all of that is just a cancer that's been dormant spiritually inside your soul. And now it's finally being awakened. If you use that negativity to attack the other person, not only are you failing the test, it's going to destroy everything you have. You're going to lose your money, your time, your energy, your health. You'll age faster. But you will have to come back next life and repeat the exact same thing. If not even in this life, meaning you'll attract another person, they'll have to hurt you, and you'll have to feel those feelings and then transform them. So, and I'm not saying that it's excusing whatever the other person is doing. What I'm saying is that you are going through this. This negativity is coming up for you. These feelings are coming up for you as an opportunity for you to become like God, because then you'll have everything. And the people don't know that that option exists. They just feel hurt, and hurt people want to hurt people.
Yeah.
Because they want some instant gratification.
Right.
I'm going to make him hurt or her hurt. I'm going to feel good for 5 minutes, but that's a small vessel, right? I feel good for 5 minutes and then I feel horrible the rest of the day. How can I hurt them again? How can I show him or her that they shouldn't have left me? Let me show them. Let me curse them. Let me send them negative energy. I hope she never remarries. I hope he never remarries. All of this energy is opposite the Creator. So if you're investing in that energy, you'll never see miracles. Your children will be harmed energetically. Your business will be harmed. The cancer cells are getting fed by this energy in your own body. It's crazy what's happening behind the scenes energetically.
Yeah, and that's why in Kabbalah 1, or maybe this was on your Instagram where you said it's important to bless your exes. And you said that, for the same reason. And funnily enough, I've actually never regretted any of the exes. I haven't really, even the worst ones, the ones who were abusive, and there was one particular one who was very abusive, and I managed to get out. But I always say, like, I'm grateful I experienced that because it made me much more compassionate and have empathy for other women who went through the same thing. Yeah. And but so I'm married. My husband he has an ex-wife, and I have a stepson who's an adorable 18-year-old. And he was a little lost in terms of where to go to college and schooling, and being a little rebellious and not really listening to his parents. And my husband asked me to have a conversation with him, and which he was very receptive to. And my stepson then asked me if I could help him with his, with looking at colleges, etc. And then I realized, between shamanic healing and Kabbalah, and I had this like bless your exes image in my mind. I realized that for the sake of my stepson, I needed to help repair the relationship between my husband and his ex-wife. 100%. Because they don't even have each other's contact. Like every conversation they have ends with her yelling at him and him hanging up. So it's like, the two triggers. And it's funny, like everything I learned from Kabbalah, I tell my husband, who doesn't speak a word of English. So I'm like, I'm using like Google Translate for certain words.
What language is he speaking?
Mandarin, because he's Chinese.
Because Kabbalah will soon come out in Mandarin. Like, it's one of the languages we're translating into.
Great.
You'll hear my voice in Mandarin.
And using AI?
Yes, using
AI. That is so fantastic. Yeah. I'm going to send them to my husband.
Out in Spanish now. It's about to be Portuguese, and Mandarin's on the top of it.
Yeah, I plan on asking you because I saw all the other languages, but I didn't see Chinese.
Yeah, if there's a desire for Mandarin, it'll go to the top of the list. Yeah.
I would be more than happy to help you promote it in China.
Love that.
And so, here I am. I'm trying to teach my husband. You probably have a lot of students who do this, right? They go home. They're trying to tell their husband, all this stuff.
How spiritual they need to be.
Yeah. He's trying to stop being reactive and to expand his vessel to receive the light. And he's just like, what is going on?
Yeah, what is going on?
But literally from when I was like, I need to repair this, once I had the idea, within 2 weeks, I was on a plane to Vancouver to meet my stepson's mother, who was receptive to me coming to pay my respects to her.
That's amazing.
Because I asked her permission through my stepson.
Beautiful.
And we had an incredible couple days in Vancouver. We were hiking, we were eating, we were planning his future. And the following week, we went to look at colleges together. And then he got an offer. Wow. So, and my husband, the version of me in China, in Shanghai, would never have done this.
Never have done that.
Never have done this. In China is all about physical growth, material growth, but coming to LA has saved my soul. because it's
I mean, that's the first time I've heard that from someone actually come out of their mouth. But I love that you said it.
it has, and I like the slower pace. I love the access to spiritual content, to spiritual people. The fact that I run into you in
ran
CVS.
into me CVS. You were looking for vitamins.
I was looking
I
for.
said, try this brand.
I was looking for NyQuil.
Yeah, and I gave you a nighttime vitamin instead.
You gave me a Mary Ruth, and you're very kind to not let me pay for it. And now I take it at night, and it helps me
love
sleep.
it. It's a good promotion.
But it's I can see how much it has been healing for my stepson, and for my husband, and for my stepson's mother, who I have an incredible relationship with her.
That's so beautiful.
And it really is because of your one video that said, bless your exes.
You know, what you did there is anytime there's peace, there's wealth and abundance. And anytime there's disagreements and bitterness and arguments that create space, there's chaos. And there's the loss of wealth. And there's the loss of certainty and the loss of protection. So the truth is, do you want a good life, or do you just want to be right? And when you realize that all that matters is how to become like the Creator, how to become like the light of the Creator, and the light of the Creator is peace, then your only thought is, okay, well, how can I create peace here? With exes, with people that have hurt me. How do I create this reality where there's a unity? That doesn't mean that you let people off the hook. It doesn't mean that you let people do whatever they want. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the desire for peace and unity then awakens special thoughts and secrets from the universe as to how to get there. Just the desire alone. And so your desire to create peace in that home is going to bless you. It's going to bless his ex-wife. It's going to bless him. It's going to bless the son. Everyone's going to become wealthier. Everyone's going to become wiser. Everyone's going to have more protection. As opposed to every man for himself and screw them, I'm going to teach them a lesson. We shouldn't be teaching lessons. As soon as we think we're teaching somebody a lesson, we are creating that judgment right back at us. Anytime you judge someone for something, you will energetically have to go through the same thing. If you judge someone for being overweight, your metabolism slows down. If you judge someone for being like a bad parent, your kids will be imbued with a demonic spirit that will all of a sudden act unruly. So, and why? Why is that? Because all of creation is moving towards a place where we will all eventually be unified. And the way there's unity is to have empathy. So the minute I judge someone for something, the universe receives a signal that I must now go through the same thing so that I can have empathy. Like what you just said about having an abusive ex. You said that then it allowed you to understand what women are going through. If you had never gone through a difficult relationship, and a woman came to you and said she's going through a difficult one, you would just kind of like be like holier than thou. Like, well, there must be something wrong with you.
Right, that you chose to be a victim.
You chose to be a victim, right, so on and so forth. So, and probably if there was a person that accused someone else of, oh, you're just being a victim, as soon as they say that, like such an insensitive statement, the universe is now, okay, well, now I got to put you through the same thing so you can feel what they feel. One of my mentors taught me, this was 25 years ago when I first started coaching. I started coaching when I was 19. So it's about 22 years ago. And he said to me, before you ever say anything to anyone about what they should or shouldn't do, you have to first feel exactly what they're feeling. And if you cannot feel, or at least make the maximum effort to feel that, you're creating judgment on yourself. And then you're basically telling the universe that you're going to have to go through the same thing. So first feel them, and then your words will have power. But if you're just preaching to them, then you're just causing chaos for yourself.
And is there a difference if you're silently judging versus if you then say the judgment out loud?
This is what's beautiful about Kabbalah. It explains the degrees of energy of things. So when you think of something, and it's in its most unmanifested state, it's still powerful. But once the thoughts, it starts with desire, thoughts, words, actions. Each level becomes more manifested, and so it creates harsher judgment. When I think of something negative, it still creates negative forces, negative vibrations, but it's not as bad as if I say something out loud, because now it's in a more manifested state. For example, if I'm thinking someone is stupid, Well, I'm thinking it. No one else can kind of read my thoughts and minds. They feel something is wrong vibrationally, but that's all it is. If I say out loud, this person is stupid, now everyone in the room has heard this negativity. They now think this person is stupid, and they now think it in their minds, creating a chain of negative vibrations. And then they'll probably say it to 20 other people, and then it continues. So now we see how a thought created a level of negativity, but a sound, words, created a much bigger effect of negativity. And it's not about better or worse, it's just understanding the impact of energy.
Yeah. One thing you said about how when families are in peace, then, the wealth will come with it, etc. There's a Chinese saying for it as well that's very similar. It's called 家和万事兴. So when the family is in harmony, affairs will prosper. So business will prosper.
Beautiful.
And my husband, right now the economy in China is not very good, but his most recent project is a real estate project. And real estate in China's
Down.
Down like a lot.
I heard.
And so he was really had a lot of stress with this project, and I could see, and I was just like, this energy is not good, So when I explained to him from Kabbalah as well, and he obviously knows the idiom because he uses it whenever I disagree with him and he wants to make me agree with him.
It reminds you that unity creates prosperity.
But then when I was telling about Kabbalah, he got it. And I explained it the same thing to his ex-wife, and she got it. And I said, so the two of you stop talking badly about each other to your son,
Totally. It's so hard. Evil speech is the most common way that people create chaos in their own lives. If you think about the probably average of 15,000 words we say a day, 95% of them fall into one of the 9 categories of evil speech and are creating negative forces that are impeding so much of the good that we're doing. In fact, people would probably find their soulmate much faster. They would become millionaires, billionaires much faster. They would have children born to them much faster. They would have higher quality souls born to them. They would heal diseases faster if they just stopped talking. If they actually either didn't talk or they were conscious of not using one of the 9 categories of evil speech.
Okay, now I got to ask you, what are the 9 categories?
No, this is like 5 more podcasts.
You'll have to come on many more times. But just walk us through
the most common we can start with is people think evil speech is
gossip or
gossip is one category. So basically anything that is true or untrue that causes someone's reputation to be harmed is a form of evil speech. And so, for example, if I say James is an idiot, or James doesn't know how to do business,
or James cheated on his exam. What if that's true though? He did cheat on the exam.
Even if it is, I'm not allowed to say it. There are certain circumstances where it's okay. So these 3 circumstances need to be fulfilled. Number 1 is, if someone's, for example, asking me, I want to hire James as a caterer. I know you've hired him before.
Reference check.
I need a reference. Now, let's say James actually did, he catered your party, but the food was maybe not that good, or the service was not that good. What do you do in this situation? So you have a friend asking you for a reference. You can't.
This happens.
This is very common. You can't just lie and say, well, he's the best caterer there is, because that's a problem.
Yeah.
You can't say, you're afraid that saying the truth is going to be evil speech and you don't want that negativity on you. So what do you do? So number 1, the most important thing is the accuracy of what you say. So for example, if you say, oh my God, James is the worst caterer in the world. And a lot of people do that. Like, it's the worst caterer. Well, that's not accurate. Let's be accurate. So I would say, number 1, I did cater James one time, and here are the things that happened that were just absolutely wonderful, marvelous. There were a few instances where the service, there was lack of response. The response time was slower than I anticipated and wanted, but that could have also been a lack of communication on my part. Like, it's a really balanced and accurate approach to give the whole picture. When I'm asking someone about something, I'm not asking for their opinion. I'd rather have the raw data that is not personal and is emotionless so that I can make my own decision. Once people start selling me on something, I have to sift through all that energy. So number one, are you accurate? Number two, if you are charged up by it or you're hurt by it, you can't say it.
Because you're being reactive.
Because you're being reactive.
And that shrinks your vessel.
Yeah, so anytime you're speaking, thinking, doing anything from a place of fear or lack, sorry.
Or scarcity, right?
Yeah,
Scarcity
fear,
and
lack, or scarcity, you are disconnected from the vibration of the creator. And as a result, anything you do at that moment is going to be chaos. So if you're charged up about something, if you're taking something personally, if you're upset, you cannot respond to your friend about it. You would have to say, I've had an experience. I'm not the best person to ask about it. You have to ask somebody else. It's just, you're not, spiritually, you can't come from that place. And the third is that you are absolutely the best person to share that information, because sometimes maybe you heard someone else have a bad experience. And so you would have to say, look, best is if you speak to that person and get the accurate understanding of what happened. So do people usually follow all these steps before they say anything? No. So then it just falls in the evil speech category and it creates chaos. Another one is just complaining. Just the words that people complain. And so every word that is a complaint, that is not constructive. It's not like going to therapy and maybe you're sharing a process you're going through and you need help. They're just people who just waste words and complain.
Yeah, I've dated a guy like that.
Just always complaining.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. That's not.
He was such a negative Nancy. Oh, well, maybe I should. Is that bad for me to say that? He was complaining?
So that would actually be falling into several categories of evil speech. Number one is anyone who's listening who knows the guy, now thinks poorly of him.
Oh, well, I'll in post we'll have Eric take that out.
Well, no, I think this is actually a good example, right? The second would be if it, and maybe you would know better, if there was a charge there, right? If there was like a...
that was none, actually.
Okay, no charge.
I just joke about him because he's the butt of all my jokes now.
He's the butt of all
Is that also evil speech? Shoot.
So yeah, that would be it too.
No,
See, that's kind of the idea is that 99% of what our words are just falls in that category. And this is why these like retreats, these like silent retreats, what's it called? These Vipassana retreats where people don't talk for like 7 days and they just meditate. Like people see angels, people see like amazing things. Like, they go through incredible healing because for 7 days, negativity, at least via words, is not being created.
Right. So, okay, the fact that I just said that, what will that do to me? Will it like push out my fulfillment?
So if you say, my ex-boyfriend, his name is XYZ, was always speaking evil speech, right? So that's
but
like...
it's a fact. I mean...
Like we said, true or untrue, both considered evil speech. By the way, everybody thinks their evil speech is a fact. Everybody thinks, well, I'm like, well, he's stupid. But he's like, well, it's true, though. No. That's still evil speech. That's still evil speech. And so that creates, let's say, 3, 4, 5 negative forces. And those negative forces are going to somehow impede or sabotage something you're working on or something that's going on. So, for example, they're going to go whisper in your husband's ear something to make him upset with you, and then you get an argument for 30 minutes. Or is going to whisper in your investor's ear. Or even worse, these negative forces, they stay on our lips. And so when we speak, even though the words sound nice, people feel words that are mixed in with a little bit of negativity, so they don't necessarily feel that good. Have you ever like heard someone and said, I don't know, I just don't like his energy. Or I don't like her energy. I mean, I get saying all the right things, but there's something just because we all have it, right?
But then would that be negative speech in itself to say that you don't like someone's energy?
Yeah, but why? It's like the question is, why are you saying it? We just say things.
Yeah, we're not mindful.
We're not mindful. And so it's creating so much destruction. By the way, I'm guilty. Like, we're all so guilty of it. So
I was going to ask, are you like perfect?
No, my God. I'm sure there's a whole cohort of people out there that when they listen to my content, my reels, like...
They're like waiting to catch
I don't
something.
like this guy.
No.
I just don't like this guy. And that will be, by the way, that will be representative of the whatever percent I have my own evil speech. So they're feeling that. The people in this world who like us and don't like us,
of course,
it's all very accurate.
It's called yin and yang in China. I mean, my dad says, like, if there's someone who likes you, there'll be someone who's against you.
That is a spiritual law. And then there's another spiritual law, which is if there's people who don't like me or don't like you, they have a valid reason for, like, they're feeling something. Meaning, even if 95% of me was perfect, there's still 5% that I need to work on, right? So 95% of my audience might feel inspired by my content. And then there's going to be 5% that will go around the world saying, he's the worst human you've ever met. Mm-hmm. Because and by the way, there'll be people who will say, like, you should not listen to this person. They're the worst human. They're inauthentic. For sure. Because there is 5% of me that needs work and that I'm working on that. And by the way, is it 95-5? No, it's probably 85% of me needs work and 15% of me.
That's already pretty good.
Has, if even that, right? So my point is, everyone's looking for, like, the perfect spiritual leader or the perfect speaker or the perfect whatever. I tell people, do not put anybody on a pedestal, including myself, because you will see the parts of me that are a work in progress. And then people are like, well, unless you're perfect, I don't want to listen to you. This is obviously something that we need to change.
Yeah. You mentioned this lack and scarcity, which a lot of us, all of us, have felt that, probably multiple times throughout a day. And Kabbalah teaches us to never have a mindset of scarcity, because when we do, we feel we're not worthy. Is that right?
Right. Every time you feel like you're missing something.
Right, FOMO, I guess, or you're not invited. Let's say you're not invited to a friend's birthday, or can you give examples of scarcity?
Yeah, if you're not invited to something, immediately you feel like you're losing something, you missed out on something. So you feel lack. At that moment, lack attracts lack. So you're disconnected from the world of miracles. But instead, the moment you're not invited, you pause and you say, what a gift.
Pause, what a pleasure.
Pause, what a pleasure was what I taught in Kabbalah 1. And then when I redid Kabbalah 1, I did it in Your Infinite Soul. It's like a newer version of Kabbalah 1. I changed it to pause, what a gift. Because the gift, it's like even a higher level.
That's true.
Such a gift that I wasn't invited. Now, why is it a gift? The gift isn't that you're not going to the party. The gift is you have an opportunity now to have your negativity come up to the surface, your abandonment issues, your fear of missing out. I'm so happy I get to see this. I now want to transform it. That's the gift. Then you have miracles. So every time you get rejected, every time you're not invited, every time you feel like you're missing something, get really excited about it. It is such a gift. It's preparing you for a huge miracle.
And so, because it's an opportunity to expand your vessel, right?
100%.
To receive the light. So,
Exactly.
So when things are going smoothly,
There's no expansion.
Yeah, there's no expansion, right? Oh, you got upgraded to business class. Oh, okay, that's great, but there's no opportunity to expand your vessel. Whereas it's in those moments of, I guess, darkness.
Yeah, when things are going great, this is the reward of the prior expansion.
Ah.
And when things are difficult, this is the creation of the new vessel for the future. And sometimes people have difficulty for months and years. Why? Because they're being prepared for something very big. Sometimes the difficulty is 1 hour. Sometimes it's going to last a year, but your consciousness is so high, maybe you're using Kabbalah in such a precise way, the year becomes 1 hour because you learn the lesson so quickly.
Yeah, my husband for his real estate project had a very tough negotiation, like a contentious negotiation coming up. And I told him, because I had just learned pause, what a pleasure, or pause, what a gift. And I told him, I said, this person's going to try and, is going to try and, well, I was like, I know my husband. I was like, this person is going to make you lose your temper. And this person is going to test you. But you should say, pause, what a pleasure.
Do you like it?
My poor husband. Well, he called me afterwards, beaming, and said,
It works.
he said, I gave up more money, but at least it's done, and I'm so grateful to you.
Beautiful.
That that you told.
And he actually didn't give up any money because the money we're going to have is already determined. If you gave up money or you spent money with the intention of creating peace or becoming like the creator or doing something of that nature, all that money comes back to you, like
How soon?
double. It never left. Energetically, for example, this is why I always spent money to go to seminars, lectures, or to travel. Anything that's going to improve my consciousness or my soul, I would spend any amount of money on. Because you're guaranteed to get back plus more any money you invest in your soul. So I never hesitated.
Great. I'm going to clip this and translate it and add Chinese subtitles and send
It's
it to my
great.
husband. He's going to be so happy. I'm like, Honey, you're going to make double the money back.
My most viral reel was when a man gives his wife whatever she asks for.
Oh, well, this is good. This is good. Keep going.
Yeah. When a man gives his wife whatever she asks for, the sages say that this man will receive double back from whatever he gives her, because she is the vessel. And when he's giving to the vessel, he is adorning the vessel. When he's nurturing the vessel, this is his vessel to receive wealth. So whatever she asks for, if he provides to elevate her, to nurture her, to make her feel safe and comfortable, then he receives double from the universe.
Wow. And does that also count for ex-wives?
I always say that my former wife is the mother of my children is equivalent to my children. So I will treat her as good as I treat my own kids. Even my own kids asked me once. They asked me last year. My 5-year-old asked me as a kind of a trick question, like, who do you love more, mommy or us? Kind of like he knew he was trying to trick me.
Were you divorced then or not yet?
We were separated then.
Okay.
I said, your mom. I looked at him in his eyes and I said, you're a mom. And he started smiling. And he became so happy. It's interesting. When you tell your kids that you love your wife or ex-wife more than them, kids are happy because they understand the energetic hierarchy. What kids are devastated by is when they feel you love them more than you love their mother or father. Because energetically, their source of energy in this world comes from the Creator through the parents to them. When you are disobeying that hierarchy of energy, you're cutting a source of energy to the child. So when you are destroying, ridiculing, or not respecting your spouse or ex-spouse, and you have children, you're only damaging the children.
Oh, so many Chinese people need your content, but mainly because in China, like in the West, when you think of the family, you think of father and like the husband and wife, and then you think of the kids. In China, once people have kids, they think of the family as like mother and kids, and then the husband's kind of like off to the side.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So mothers especially will then put their kids above their husbands, and then the husbands obviously feel like isolated, and then they cheat. And
this is a very common, that causes
maybe it's
all the
global.
problems.
It's global, not
it's a
just
global
China.
issue. Yeah, never put your children above
Your husband,
or husband
your
or
spouse.
wife, or your ex even. That's not easy. I'm not saying in any way that's easy, but if you want everyone to be blessed, including the children, you maintain that hierarchy. You will never show me an example of a divorced family where the husband and wife, exes, the ex-husband and wife, where if they respect each other and love each other as much, if not more than the children, that the children turned out worse. You'll never be able to show me an example.
Yeah, and that's why it was so important for me that my husband and his ex-wife they repair their relationship for my stepson.
That is correct.
So that he could, go back on his path.
And you being the cause of that is going to bless you in a huge way. Whoever brings people to unity and togetherness, especially family members, they themselves become blessed because it's like you gave birth to their soul. You literally awakened their soul from a place of being dead, which is a place of disunity and hatred, because the soul is dying when you have hatred and disunity, and you bring it to a place of unity and love. It's as if you gave birth again to their souls. It's the most powerful thing somebody can do.
Well, I'm ready for all those blessings.
Yeah. This is why it also says if you match people together who eventually get married.
I have.
That is also one of the greatest lights you can reveal.
Oh, wow.
Because you're bringing souls together, and it's very hard to bring souls together. So matching, I've always been very fascinated by and made it a priority to try to match people together.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. So you get very blessed by that. It creates a huge treasure trove of miracles in your bank account.
Well, Chinese people, whenever you explain something to them in terms of money, they get it. They get it quickly. If you're like, this is better for business, they're like, okay, we get it. I'm going to do it.
100%.
So we're going to
they will love Kabbalah.
We're going to put Chinese subtitles on this whole episode and put it on Bilibili, which is like the Chinese version of YouTube, kind of. And I'm going to put on Little Red Book, which is a Chinese version of Instagram, kind of.
I can't wait to see where that goes.
Okay, so in terms of the tools from the Kabbalah toolkit, we had Bless Your Exes, Pause What a Gift. certainty in the face of chaos.
Yeah.
Like, I just love this, like wholeness and certainty.
Yeah.
Tell us about this.
So, certainty, which is this belief that everything is good, everything that's happening is for the good, it's from the Creator, it's exactly where you should be, and nothing is missing. This consciousness is what is the highest vibration to connect you to the light of the Creator. So you have two options. You can either have doubts and fears, be worried about your future, believe that the current situation is not good, then that becomes your reality. Or you can say, despite the fact that I'm confused, I feel darkness, I don't see an answer, I don't see a solution in sight, but I have certainty beyond logic that this is good. And even if you say that over and over again, even though your body's saying, what are you talking about? This is a horrible situation. And your physical surrounding, your five senses are telling you, this is horrible. You say, no, I have complete certainty. There is no lack here. It's exactly as it needs to be. And the lack is a total illusion. You keep reinforcing that, then the physical world has to catch up to your consciousness. Or if you see lack and you believe in the lack, then you're solidifying the lack. And then it will not change. Certainty is the most powerful consciousness.
And that's one of the biggest lessons I've learned these 2 months. And I remember in one of your seminars, you said that a woman is most attractive when she feels complete and whole and doesn't ask anybody for anything. And she's like, I'm good.
Well, one side was it. It's not that she doesn't ask. Because that's also, it can be, a woman then says, well, I don't need anything from you. That's not at all.
No, yeah.
Right. She knows how to receive, but she does not need to receive. But she knows how to receive. And she chooses to receive, to give the man an opportunity to give, because it awakens his masculine energy. But not because she needs it for her own self-worth, her own safety, her own protection, or whatever it is. We should never take anything from anyone to fulfill a hole inside of ourselves. But we do need to learn how to receive from people in order to give them the opportunity to give. So imagine you go to someone's house and they offer you this cake they made, and it's like their pride and joy, but you're not really hungry. And they offer it to you. You should say, thank you, I would love to try this cake. It gives them pleasure to give to you.
And it's etiquette.
And
Yeah.
see, we call that good etiquette. That's good etiquette, learning how to receive.
Right, exactly.
But if you came to the house and you were so hungry and you actually just went to the fridge and you grabbed the cake and you started eating it, and then your host walks in and says, what are you doing? You're like, well, I was hungry, and I know you made this cake you love, so I went to go eat it. How does the host feel then? He doesn't feel like, oh, good, I'm so happy you took the cake. The host wanted to serve you the cake.
Yes, they want to have the opportunity to give.
Exactly. But we often just run to the fridge and eat the cake like a little animal in the corner, as opposed to waiting for the host to give. So in relationships, same thing. Are you stealing energy from the person? Are you taking energy from them because you're needy, because you're codependent, because this, that, and the other thing, you're afraid? Or are you totally complete and you're allowing the other person to give to you in the right way at the right time? I've seen this so many times with men and women, but a specific situation where this couple broke up and I asked the man what happened. And he's like, look, I would have given her the world had she just been patient with me and not tried to force a marriage, not try to force having children, not try to force this and that and the other thing. I was ready to give it to her, but I had to do it on my own timeline, in my own way, in my own process. And obviously this is men and women, both fall in this category.
Yeah. Well, I think so many American women need to hear the learn how to receive part, because I know a lot of women who are like, I'll never let him pay for a date, to pay for dinner. I'll split the bill so that I can show I'm an independent woman.
Yeah.
And, coming from Asia, I mean, we have different norms,
Yeah.
but it's nice to hear about that
Yeah.
it's good to receive.
Yes, it's very good to receive, not good to take.
Yes, love it. Okay, so the tikkun, the soul correction, that concept, it makes so much sense that each of our lives, each of our goals in life is to become the highest version of ourselves, to receive the light, and in that process is to correct our soul corrections, our tikkuns.
The way to achieve that is to Find out what corrections your soul came to the world with, what negativity, what fears, and the process of transformation of those fears aligns you with the light of the Creator, so you can receive that light.
I actually used ChatGPT to look up my tikkun the other day.
Oh,
Yeah.
that does work.
Yes, it was so good.
Spot on, right?
It was so spot on. And then it talked about kind of my, then I asked a follow-up question, which was, how does this relate to my career goals, like podcasting and, blah, blah, blah. And it was so good.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean,
That
listeners
is-
out there, I highly recommend, like, if you have trouble identifying your own tikkun, ChatGPT it. Let's talk about bread of shame, because I think that it actually could be very useful for a lot of parents out there, because I see how children are spoiled these days and how it just destroys them.
So the concept of bread of shame that you're talking about is this idea that when someone receives something they have not earned, they develop a shame that is the worst feeling a person can go through. Because when the souls came to this world, the Creator actually wanted to bestow all the light on the souls. The souls said, if we receive all this light for free, meaning if I'm born with my soulmate, I'm born with my purpose, I'm born with wealth, I'm born with everything, and we don't get the opportunity to act like you, to act like a Creator, we will never be able to enjoy that which we receive. So instead, the souls told the Creator, bring us down to a world of darkness. Bring us down to a world where we don't know with certainty what's meant for us, which way we should go, who we should be with, and allow us to go through a process of earning all of those gifts. And this is what removes the bread of shame, that feeling of not having earned. So a lot of children that are born to wealthy families, this is like the textbook bread of shame. These children have everything. They receive everything.
Yeah.
They get in trouble. They get bailed out. They have access to all of this wealth. And what happens almost always to these children is there's depression, there's drug use, higher rates of suicide, and there's chaos because the children didn't have the opportunity to earn this reality. It was just given to them. It's kind of like if I brought a 1,000-piece puzzle for my 6-year-old, and I decided I didn't want him to go through too much trouble. So I actually make the puzzle for him, I frame it, and I hand it to him. He's going to look at that puzzle and be be in total disgust with what I'm giving him. It's like he would not care at all about that. The joy of him making the puzzle and completing it, going through that process, builds the vessel to hold the light of a completed puzzle. But me just handing him a completed puzzle means nothing. We see this in relationships too. When people are giving so much to each other so quickly, when people are being so intimate so quickly.
They're buying their love almost.
Yeah, or giving gifts. And so all of this is coming from some neediness or some fear. That's one. But the second thing is that when you are intimate with someone, you're giving them all of this energy and light so quickly before they've done almost nothing to earn it.
So you mean like a one-night stand?
Yeah. So for example, if you had a one-night stand, both sides are receiving energy that they've really done nothing on a spiritual or even physical level to earn.
To earn it. Oh.
Right? Like, what did this man do to deserve, to earn the greatest light that you can give someone? And so what happens is, by you giving the man that on the first night, you're giving him bread of shame because he now received something that he did nothing really for. So he'll end up resenting you and not respecting you for that reason, because we always resent the person who gives us bread of shame. The children resent the wealthy parents.
It's true.
Relationships end because someone is giving more than the person's ready to receive. And what happens is the person who's receiving more than they can handle, or they've earned, maybe they're just not ready, maybe they have a process to go through, ends up pulling back because they become less attracted to the giver. Mm-hmm. The giver gets more scared.
And they give more.
And they give more. So they double down and say, well, I really can't lose you. I'll be this, I'll do that, I'll spend this, I'll become that. So they even become more inauthentic. They come from a greater place of lack and fear. So like the whole attraction by then is like totally out the window. As opposed to, you give always from a place of wholeness, not because you're needy or afraid. And you're always conscious, what are they ready to receive? They want to stay on the phone for 2 more hours. Maybe it's time to get off the phone right now and pace ourselves. They want to, fly to Mexico with you right away. Like, pace. go through a process of learning and earning. That's the example of relationships, but this is in everything in life.
Yeah,
This
in
is
everything.
It's everything. Advice, giving somebody advice they haven't asked for is giving them bread of shame. Someone says, what should I do? Should I stay or should I go? Should I do this or should I do that? And I'm like, if I give you this advice, I'm giving you now a surge of energy or wisdom that often, by the way, somebody might pay a lot of money for, but I'm going to give it to you for free. That's already something. And most likely, whenever you give somebody advice, they're not listening to it. Why? Because they never even had the vessel to receive what you're about to say. So maybe I'll ask back, well, what do you feel you need to do? And they're like, well, no, you just tell me. I know if I tell them, A, they either won't listen, or B, they'll resent me. One of my mentors told me a joke once when I saw that somebody was very upset with them. I said, why are they so upset with you? And he said, must be because I gave them so much. So, and you see, the people probably who are most upset with you are the people who you gave so much to, but they weren't able to handle it. They weren't ready for it.
Yeah.
Or you came from a place of fear and lack in your giving.
Right. So, David, I want to end the interview asking you two questions that you're not going to get out of not answering. And you know what they are.
Oh, you're going. You're in. There's a question you asked me in my seminar.
Question one. How does Kabbalah view infidelity? Are there energetic consequences to cheating on your spouse?
Okay, so you specifically want to discuss about in a married situation.
Is there a sliding scale, like if you're a boyfriend, girlfriend versus married?
Let's
say married.
There is a sliding scale.
Okay.
Yeah, there is a sliding
Let's say
scale.
married.
A marriage. And so what is it exactly that you want to know?
What is Kabbalah's views on it? Is it like what happens if you cheat on your spouse?
So the reason why there's no direct answer to this question is, let's understand why the cheating is happening. The chaos comes not from the cheating, but the why. One side feels pain and lack and fear because they're not getting something, they're being challenged within the marriage in a way that they were meant to go through this process for a soul transformation, but instead of dealing with it, instead of facing it head on, instead of going through the pain, they're looking for an outlet. So the cheating or the infidelity can happen many ways. We just happen to find it to be egregious to be with another person. But I've seen the same level of pain happen. What if this person went into drugs? What if this person went into gambling? What if this person goes into pornography? What if this person goes to another man or woman? All of these are forms of betrayal and cheating. All of them are doing the same thing. I have lack, I have pain, I have void that I'm supposed to correct in this lifetime. And instead of dealing with that, I'm looking for an alternative source of energy. The chaos doesn't come from the cheating. The chaos comes from me avoiding my soul correction at that moment, looking for a source of energy. As a society, we tend to shame people more for having infidelity with a person. But energetically, Kabbalah's point of view is it makes no difference whether it's a person, whether it's gambling, whether it's drugs. Either way, you're escaping to a short-term source of energy as opposed to dealing with your personal soul correction.
And then, so what happens? You said the fulfillment
So you would
is delayed?
say, well, for example, instead of running to any of those sources of energy, you would go back to your spouse and say, I have a problem here. I'm missing something from this. Let's have those discussions. Let's work through something. Let's go through therapy. Let's study spirituality. Let's maybe discuss being separated, right? So that discussion is a much more difficult discussion for people to have. They don't want to break the family life. They're worried about the children. There's a lot of people have issues with confronting their pain.
Some people are happily married and they have a girlfriend on the side.
Yes, but the question is, what is causing this need for the girlfriend on the side? And are we addressing that?
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, yeah, I know there are couples that are like, yeah, I'll have a girlfriend, you'll have a girlfriend.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I'll have a girlfriend, you'll have a boyfriend.
well, why not have 20? Why not have 30? The point isn't about having that, but you could be single and have many relationships as well. Or you could even have one relationship, but it's not about the how many, it's about what are you doing with that energy. I know people who are just dating one person, but they're just using that person to feel safe. Just using that person not to deal with their issues.
Yeah.
That is as bad
Yeah.
as the couple that is married and having their girlfriend. From the spiritual, energetic point of view. We're so caught up in the labeling of stuff.
Yeah.
Kabbalah is just dealing with the energy of things. You could be in a relationship where you are stealing energy from them to feed a codependent fear that you have. That's a short circuit. That will cause chaos. The same as an affair would. It's the same principle. You are stealing energy because you're not dealing with your soul's correction.
Now, what if somebody's having an affair and has absolutely no shame about it, no guilt about it, is happy, comes from a giving place, but is also very happy with their wife? So they're, then, and it doesn't affect their wholeness and certainty.
If someone came to me and said, I'm doing that, what do you think? I would say, all the best to you. What are you asking me? Is it bad? Even them asking me, are they going to really stop doing that? They're not going to stop doing it. My teacher once told me, if someone's not going to stop doing something and they ask you if they should do it or not, you just wish them the best. You should never tell someone not to do something if you think they're not going to do it. If you think they're not going to stop doing it.
Okay, second question. How does Kabbalah view masturbation? And, hey,
you really had to finish in these last two questions,
you put it in my mind. You're like, if you really want to be controversial, ask about masturbation.
She's like, can we talk about infidelity? I'm like, sure. I'm like, if you really want to be controversial, why don't you talk about that too? And now she's asking me about it. It's interesting because like the sages actually write about this, that so the male sperm is energy, and the sperm carries souls. Mm-hmm. That's why there's also the tremendous pleasure that comes from intimacy. That's because there's a great light being revealed. It's really the only time a human is becoming like God. You're literally creating something from nothing. You're literally drawing a soul down to this world and creating a moving object as a human through intercourse. And that is why it's the greatest light, but it also creates the greatest darkness. We know that all the darkness of the world, all the wars in the world, all the problems in the world are really just sourced from sex. It's interesting. Everything is coming from this. Even the desire for power, desire for money. It all leads back to sex. Even Freud said the same thing. So they're rooted in this energy. And there's two areas on the body that the negative side is most attracted to. It's always attracted to where the greatest light exists. And the greatest light exists in the mouth and the sexual organ because of the two areas that sustain life and create life. And so life is the greatest energy that can exist. So the negative side controls the mouth most and the sexual organ. Mm-hmm. This is why the hardest thing to do is to control your speech and your sexual energy. This is the two main problems everybody has in life. And food.
Yeah,
food.
Eating, overweight.
Yeah, so the mouth is like causing all the problems. And the sexual organ is always these two areas. Not the elbow. No one has a problem with their elbow. Yeah, no one has a problem with their toes. It's always the mouth and the sexual organ because the mouth sustains life through food. The sexual organ creates life. So the masturbation of, for a man, the challenge there becomes you're revealing energy and it doesn't go anywhere.
You mean the sperm, because you're
sperm,
ejaculating sperm.
There's no
and
vessel
it's
to
not going
receive
anywhere.
it. So the sages say when there's no vessel, the energy becomes unrevealed, so it's wasted energy. And when something is wasted, it's like wasted words. So when I say a bunch of nonsense, or I say something that nobody really cares for me to say, I'm wasting energy. So where does the energy go? It goes to kind of a negative side. So it's the same with sperm. When it's wasted, and there's obviously degrees of everything. A loving relationship is one night stands. There's just, I feel this. So there's obviously degrees of it. And the most important is that nobody feels shame about what they do, but to understand the degrees of energy.
Oh, so if you do something bad, the most important thing is to not feel shame about it.
Oh my God, the shame that people feel for what they do is 1,000,000 times worse than what they do.
Oh, good to know.
Oh yeah.
That's great.
If a person makes a mistake, that's like a one moment of a disconnection. But the shame you feel for 20 years is 20 consistent years of a short circuit.
So if you do something bad, but then what if you feel great pleasure and joy from it for the concurrent
And you have no
20?
guilt and shame about it?
And no guilt and shame.
that person is in a better position than all these spiritual and religious people who constantly feel bad. This is why I'm always very careful to share wisdom in a way that's not causing guilt and shame.
Right.
Now,
okay, so
that
back to
person who thinks they can do whatever they want and they don't have any guilt and shame about it, the problem then becomes, well, are all the things you're doing constructive and adding value, or are they hurting people? And what happens is, one of the qualities of the creator is to give, to be a giver. So there's some people that are like, well, I'm going to hurt everybody. I don't care. I'm happy with myself, and I have no guilt and shame about it. Well, where they're going to get hit is the actions they're doing are hurting people. And so it's not enough for them to say, well, I feel good about it. The fact that you're hurting people, you're disconnected from the creator from that point of view. The creator is a giving force, and also the creator is a force that doesn't have guilt or shame. So you'll be disconnected if you have guilt and shame, and you'll be disconnected if you're not truly giving. There's a lot of things to keep in mind in order to connect to this vibration.
So going back to masturbation, if you
So
don't...
a woman, it's not as much of a problem, say the sages.
Because
They're
you
not
don't
creating that
ejaculate
energy.
sperm,
That's right.
but you do orgasm, so...
Yeah, so it's not... All I will say is that none of it's a problem. People can do whatever they want to do or feel they need to do. My job here is to kind of share what the sages are saying, which is, let's go for the big goal here. There's a big goal. The big goal is to become like God. If you feel
is God masturbating? Is God cheating, I guess?
Right, it's kind of like you can live, by the way, everyone can live a life that's like nice and has some pleasures and ups and downs, but most people I know, 90% of their day is like chaos and hard work and stress, and maybe 5 to 10% they're enjoying themselves, and they call this life. The sages say 99.9% of your day must be miraculous and pleasurable beyond belief. Now, if we want that reality, so there's ways we can kind of get ourselves out of the nonsense. Like the fact that we're even having a discussion, the fact that people come to me and say, well, is porn good or bad? The fact that you're even thinking about that and we're dealing with that, there's so many great things we can do in the world. There's so many great things we can create. You want to spend 1 hour watching porn? And by the way, I asked him, how do you feel after 1 hour porn? I never feel good. So then you don't feel good watching it. You don't feel good after it. So why are you doing it? And if someone came to me and said, I watch porn all day long, and I see miracles all day long, and I'm as happy as can be, and I have the most amazing life, I would bless that. I would say, good, like wonderful.
Yeah.
Like, who am I to now tell you to take all your pain and suffering away? And you're not hurting anybody, and you're inspiring. Okay, fine. Or if someone told me I take drugs, and I'm high all day long, I have no down, I have no crash, I feel amazing, I'm healthier than ever, and okay, if there's a drug that exists like that, then who cares even about Kabbalah? We'll just take the drug. But the point is, there's nothing in the world that gives us a consistent, miraculous energy besides what Kabbalah is teaching us about transforming who we are, transforming the small vessel to a big vessel. Pornography, small vessel, that's all it is. It's not about good, bad, right, wrong. You want to stay with the small vessel, stay with the small vessel.
You're making it sound bad now.
Well, some people like a small vessel. It's not, I'm saying, like, someone's like, well, I want small vessel. Who am I to say you should have a big vessel? It's like me telling someone, go run for president of the United States. I don't want to run for president of the United States. Well, so you're bad. No, it's not what they want. The problem is when you want something and you're acting a different way. That becomes the problem. People come to me and say, I want my soulmate, but instead I'm going to just choose these toxic relationships. That becomes the problem.
Yes. Well, David, thank you for your time. I'm honored that you came onto the podcast. Listeners out there, I'll leave you with one simple prompt. If there's one moment of discomfort you're experiencing this week, think to yourself, could it be an opportunity for transformation? Thank you for tuning in to Mind Your Manners. Check out the YouTube video, watch the full episode, hit like, subscribe, and comment. I'm your host and etiquette life guide, Sara Jane Ho, and remember, no matter what life throws at you, with me in your ear, you got this. See you next Tuesday.